Welcome back to episode 4 of Charge It to the Game. Why I save in Bitcoin. This is not financial advice. So I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm telling you what I do with mine. I'm telling you what I think is good to do. But please do not take this as financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on YouTube who enjoys talking about Bitcoin, and personally, that's where I put my money. I put my money where my mouth is. I say save in Bitcoin specifically because I don't look at Bitcoin as an investment anymore. Bitcoin to me is literally a store of my wealth, a store of my value, and it's where I save my money. So I don't invest in Bitcoin. I save in Bitcoin. The way I differentiate the two is I think of an investment as something that earns me yield. So like real estate or stocks. You buy stocks in companies that make money. They sell products, they build things, they create value, and in return, there is money or value returned to the shareholders in the terms or in the form of dividends or the share price growing. Same thing with real estate. Real estate can appreciate over time. It also has tangible value in the sense of people can live in it. People can use it for things such as businesses, many other things that real estate can be used for other than a store of value or specifically holding money or growing money. Bitcoin, however, can't do anything else. It's like even gold, right? Gold is a store of value as well. It doesn't earn any yield. However, gold can be worn as jewelry. It can be used to make things. It's used in the engine bay of the McLaren F1 to keep things cool because it's great at reflecting heat. So even gold has other uses other than a store of value or growing value. So why do I save in Bitcoin? What makes Bitcoin so special, and why is it not just a speculative investment for me anymore? Well, it comes down to a few things, with the first one being it doesn't have any outside control. The government doesn't control the price of Bitcoin. The government and or big entities can move the market a bit. There's all kinds of speculation that big buyers can sway the market with swing trades or shorts or longs. But as this market continues to grow, right now, Bitcoin is like a $2 trillion market. Some of the single companies in the US in the stock market are like $3 trillion, right? So the more money and the more market share that gets into Bitcoin, the less likely it's to be swayed by big money holders, big entities. And I'm also not buying for the appreciation of 1 year or for 6 months. I'm buying for the appreciation of 10 years. But getting back to my other point, it can't be manipulated by the Federal Reserve. It can't be manipulated by the federal government. It can't be printed or inflated other than the natural inflation of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. Something like, 50% of all of the US dollars ever produced were printed in like the last 5 years. That's crazy to think about. Think of somebody who worked for 40 or 50 years. 25 years of their work was just basically printed away. That's insane to think about. And that's hard for me, who's, going to work and trying to save my hard-earned money, to be comfortable storing my wealth in dollars. And that's not to say that I don't invest in other things. I think a diverse investment portfolio is very valuable. I think stocks are very valuable. My 401k, definitely investing there. That's free money with the match from my company. So I'm going to make sure I take advantage of that. And real estate, I think real estate's an amazing investment. Real estate was like the first love for me in terms of growing my money and growing my wealth. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million. Every halving, this supply and the distribution of new coins gets cut in half. So this supply is starting to dry up now that there are publicly traded companies buying Bitcoin, MicroStrategy being the biggest. Tesla owns Bitcoin. Now that there's Bitcoin trusts, Fidelity, Grayscale, you name the institution, they're trying to have a a Bitcoin trust specifically, but also other digital assets. But we'll keep this conversation strictly on Bitcoin. And if there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, that means that not even every millionaire can have one Bitcoin, right? So only 21 million people, if everybody only got one Bitcoin, could ever have one Bitcoin. The thing is, there's people with 100 Bitcoins. There's people with 1,000 Bitcoins. There's people with 10,000 Bitcoins. So you see how the distribution of this coin can really dry up quickly as the velocity of accumulation by big money, big people, big institutions starts to increase. And we saw that at the beginning of 2024, that kind of like accelerated. And I think today, one Bitcoin is worth $95,000. I bought my first Bitcoin, I think in 2017. And I think it was $7,000, $8,000. And I've had to learn the hard way and really understand what Bitcoin was. For a long time, I traded it as a speculative thing, as a speculative asset, as an alternative asset. You know, I got in thinking, you know, Bitcoin was going to make me rich in a month, rich in a year. And it did some great things for me. I can't say it didn't change my life, because even in those first couple years, it changed my life. It allowed me to do a lot of things that I would not have been able to do without it. And not just Bitcoin, but just crypto in general. But I would say now I'm not a crypto investor. I strictly buy Bitcoin. So what are the risks? There's definitely some risks. One of the more common topics that people bring up is quantum computing. Right now, how Bitcoin works is it has a hashing algorithm, SHA-256. Right now, we don't have anything that can break that encryption, but it's a lot of speculation that as computers get more powerful, as quantum computing comes about, there will be some capability to break the hashing algorithm of Bitcoin, which will render it useless. Possible? Yeah, very much speculative. Nobody has a timeline on that. Quantum computers don't even really work yet. They're like always theoretical, and they've been able to make some progress, but nothing big enough to spook the market and spook all of these big institutions that have been building and buying Bitcoin. So not something I'm really worried about. Something else that could really shake the market is government decision. Thankfully, the current administration has shown that they are crypto and specifically Bitcoin favorable, and it's in their policy plans. They're looking to open more runways, allow more businesses and companies to use and do business with Bitcoin. So net positive. That could be a downside if in 4 years a new administration comes in and changes that, tries to do something different. But by that time, there's a good chance we'd have made a lot of progress where the staying power and the rails and the institutional things that have been built around Bitcoin are constructed and they can't be moved. So those are some risks, but I think they're pretty unlikely. Another risk, obviously, is losing your coins. I'm a big proponent of custodying your own coins. I self-custody my coins. I don't leave my coins on an exchange. I think you should too if you own Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only asset that if you custody it, you know, short of the FBI busting into your house, FBI, open up! They can't take it from you. Nobody can seize your Bitcoin. Nobody can garnish your Bitcoin. If you custody your own keys, you can grab your wallet, whatever that is on a computer, on a hardware wallet, on a Trezor, on a Ledger. You can get on a plane and go anywhere. And if you store your wealth and your money in Bitcoin, nobody can keep that from you. No bank can seize your Bitcoin. No government can seize your Bitcoin if you self-custody it. Now, you saw what happened with the creator of Silk Road and many other big things, big scandals, big whatever things that the government cracked down on. I'm not saying you're safe from everything. But if you're a regular Joe Schmo and you keep your Bitcoin on your ledger and you're not doing crime, nobody can take that from you. And even if you are doing crime, perfect, as long as you have that hardware wallet, you get on a plane and you can go anywhere and nobody can seize your funds. Where you really see the value and the growth in Bitcoin is obviously in the price, but look at it in the terms of how much things cost in Bitcoin. 5 years ago, a house cost something like 50 Bitcoin. I'll do the math and put it up on the screen here. Today, the average home in America just costs 5 Bitcoins. And if that trajectory continues, one house will cost 2.5 Bitcoin in 3-4 years. And then one house will cost 1 Bitcoin. And it'll continue to go that direction where in Bitcoin terms, things are actually getting cheaper. Where in dollar terms, because of inflation, things are getting more expensive. So that's how I look at my Bitcoin, and that's how I look at my money, and that's how I look at where can I store this money that I'm working hard to accumulate so I'm not losing value to inflation, and over time it continues to grow and accumulate value for me. Again, I still invest in the stock market, I still invest in real estate, but I save, I park my money for the long term in Bitcoin. It's just hard to, whatever, the S&P 500's average return is 7%, 10% a year. True inflation was probably 7%. So if the market returned 7%, but inflation was 7%, you made $0. You basically stayed the same. Your money has the same value as when you started in terms of inflation. And I think that's the piece a lot of people haven't connected is, okay, yes, maybe your money is growing in these other assets in dollar terms, but what do those dollars buy you? And that's what really kind of lit the light bulb in my head is like, okay, if I can save in something that continues to buy me more, it makes sense for me to continue to put my money here. I'm not trying to time the market with Bitcoin. I take a dollar amount, a set dollar amount, and every time I get paid, I go and buy Bitcoin with it. And immediately I send it to my hardware wallet, and I'm just growing my stack. I'm trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can. I'm trying to make sure that I have a good share of that wealth and a good share of those coins, because I believe that the market has spoken. I believe institutions have spoken. Governments have spoken. And Bitcoin has a place to stay. It is a value asset. And I believe it's only going to continue to grow market share and market cap. Right now that $2 trillion market cap, if it just 10x's from here, if it could even touch gold's market cap, and gold's been on a tear, that's $1 million Bitcoin. And to me, that's not outrageous. That might sound outrageous to you, and that's okay. I know why I buy it. I know why I store my money in it. And I know the potential that I think it has. And I'm comfortable with that. I've done my research on it. I've done my due diligence on it. I used to work at Coinbase, right? So I spent a lot of time around these assets and learned how they worked. I learned the technology behind them. And I also read the Bitcoin white paper. If you are somebody who's like, oh my God, Bitcoin's a scam, or all of these digital assets are a scam, it's not real money. First of all, how do you get paid? You get paid direct deposit. You go to your job, whatever, 40 hours a week, and then on the 1st, on the 15th, or every other Friday, they send you digitally money to your bank account. So guess what? You get paid digital currency. You don't get a physical check. And more than likely, when you get that check, you're not going to cash it at the bank, or you might withdraw some cash to do something, to go out, to go whatever, just to have on the weekend or go on a trip. But for the most part, you spend and receive your money digitally. That's not new. That's something you've been doing. So the argument that Bitcoin's not a real currency, well, You can make the same argument about the money you get in your bank account. The difference is you can go to your bank and say, hey bank, I'd like $5,000 from my bank account. And they'll give you $5,000 most of the time. Heard of situations where you got to call ahead, things like that, but I digress. With Bitcoin, yeah, you need to transact. You need to trade that Bitcoin for dollars to get your value out of it. But I personally think we'll get to a point where you won't need to sell your Bitcoin. You can trade your Bitcoin for things, and or you can do what wealthy people do with their stocks, and you can take loans out against your Bitcoin, against your portfolio. That's where I think things are heading. That's what I'm preparing for, and that's why I save in Bitcoin. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Do you think Bitcoin's a scam? Am I gonna lose all my money? Do you also save in Bitcoin? Do you consider yourself a Bitcoiner? Are you orange pilled? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion and also maybe learn something from you. I don't know everything. As stated before, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm just a guy trying to grow my wealth and share that journey with you all. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out Charges to the Game. Really appreciate you all. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to having you on the next video. Peace.